Hello, hello, and welcome back, NESpians. It is so good to see you here again today for the continuation and the conclusion of the books category. If you're new here to the NESpa, first of all, welcome. It's so lovely to meet you. Thank you for hanging out. If you're not sure where we are in this part of the KonMari process, I will, as usual, leave a link to the KonMari Quest playlist where you can watch every single KonMari video from this channel in order, starting with the introduction and overview video. Last week, we had finished off with the gathering and sorting process of my entire collection of books into the 4 different subcategories: general, practical, visual, and magazines. And I also ended up creating a 5th category for myself, music, because of the volume of music books that I had acquired over the years. Of course, as usual, the sole factor determining whether or not we are going to hold on to or discard a book is the joy factor. Does this book spark joy when I pick it up? Not when I open it, not when I thumb through a few pages, when I pick it up. It's really interesting because in her book, Marie strongly cautions against opening up or reading any part of any book. She wants us to be able to go with our gut, pick it up, and determine whether or not in that split second if it sparks joy. This was very difficult for me for a handful of books because going into this process, I knew there was a handful of books that I was looking forward to rediscovering that I thought would definitely spark joy. And as it turns out, when I came across those books and it came time to evaluate what I was going to do with them, at first glance and at first touch, they didn't spark joy. I began to second guess myself at this point, and I caved and I did open a handful of these books and read through a few lines. I was surprised to discover that no, they still very much did not spark joy, and my initial gut instinct about them was correct, and I did end up discarding them. One of my favorite parts of going through the life-changing magic of tidying up was when I was finding myself coming up with excuses to hold on to items beyond the spark joy factor, and then within the next couple of pages, having Marie Kondo seemingly read my mind and completely dismantle that exact thought process that I was having. The most difficult books for me to part with during this process were definitely my music books. I had acquired so many scores, so many pedagogy books, so many art songs and arias photocopied to learn, so many roles learned and performed just once, and entire opera scores just sitting on a shelf gathering dust. Marie has a solution for what to do with these types of books as well, not necessarily music scores specifically, but just in general. And her advice is the time to read a book and to enjoy it is the time of purchase. And if that time has passed, then it's very unlikely that you are going to get around to reading it. And that has proven to be absolutely true for me. I have so many books that I have not returned to since performing roles, and I haven't returned to my meticulously organized, photocopied books of arias and songs that I hope to learn in years. So I've had to make peace with the fact that the time has passed for me to learn those, and holding on to them is just going to be more burdensome than to let them go. And of course, Marie mentions in her book, if you ever happen to get rid of something that you end up needing to replace or that you rekindle an interest in, you can absolutely go out and buy it or acquire it in some other way again. But it's better to not hold on to it if the time has passed for you to enjoy it. I have a confession to make. Everything that I just said about the time to read a book being the time that you acquired it, and if that time passes and you haven't finished the book, then it's time to part with it. Yeah, scrap that. So that big fat book on the top that you see there, that is The Return of the King. That's the final book in the Lord of the Rings series. A few years ago, I picked up the series. I started with The Hobbit and I read through the entire series, and I got about a third, almost a halfway through The Return of the King, and I stopped for a few weeks, and those few weeks turned into a few months, and those few months turned into a few years. But I don't care. I am hanging on to that book. I have come too far in that series to let it go now, but I will pick it up again and I will finish that book, and I will be able to say that I have read through the Lord of the Rings series. Shh, don't tell Marie. I am a little bit annoyed with myself because once again, I got so caught up in the process, sorting through the books and gathering them and reshelving them, that I forgot to take a ton of before and after photos. But I will do my best to describe to you just how much I reduced the size of my book collection. What I'm really appreciating through this process so far is the closure that I've been getting from handling each item individually and either keeping it in the minority of cases or donating it in the majority of cases. It's been a really good exercise in gratitude for me and for acknowledging what these books have brought me, and then letting them go and move on to another home potentially. And there you have it. That is the books phase in the books. That was definitely a confidence booster after I was knocked down a few pegs during the clothing phase. So I am very happy about that and much more hopeful for our next phase, phase 3 of the KonMari process, which is papers. Do the jazz hands make it more exciting? Okay, no, papers are super boring, but I promise you, I was able to find some exciting gems, even in that dreary category. Thank you all so much for being here and for hanging out. Your support and encouragement through this process is really helping me to see the light at the end of the tunnel and keep going with this KonMari quest and see it right through to the finish, hopefully before the 6-month mark. I wish you all the very best on your own KonMari journey, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend. Let's hang out again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.